by radio talk show host Glenn Beck that he made against the U.S. State Department. Doc, I have been troubled all weekend by what I heard Glenn Beck say. I didn't hear it last week. My daughter sent it to me over the weekend, and I just was shocked, stunned at what he said happened in Afghanistan by the U.S. State Department. And we're going to share with you several video clips of Glenn Beck. First of all, I want to commend Glenn Beck for his work to rescue Afghan Christians. He has raised over $30 million in a matter of days. Yes. One large donation came from Bill O'Reilly. The private jet that Mr. Beck is using to get around the Middle East to coordinate this rescue operation was donated by Kenneth Copeland. A lot of people did things that were extraordinary gifts. And so to all the people that donated, a total of over $30 million, to Glenn Beck, to Kenneth Copeland, to everybody who has done something to rescue Afghan Christians, I salute you and commend you, and I am very proud of you that you've done this. The first article we want to show you is the Catholic News Agency. And
this is from earlier last week, and this was the first indication that there was something going on in Afghanistan regarding Christians that were being singled out or separated from other Afghans that were being allowed to leave. Somehow Christians were not being allowed to leave, so Catholic News Agency was one of the first to pick up on this.
You know, Doc, this reminded me, this is very similar to what Obama did with the Syrian refugees.
I recall that.
Obama would not allow Syrian Christians to enter the country.
Right. And as the week has progressed here, last week, and other outlets like LifeSite News was reporting on this as well, LifeSite was one of the first ones out there, along with Mr. Beck, directly accusing the Biden White House and the State Department as colluding together in blocking the rescue of Christians from Afghanistan. And that there was some, whether it was a written rule or not, or unspoken rule for sure, that Christians were being singled out and not allowed to leave Afghanistan. And the accusation is such, according to Mr. Beck, because he had people on the ground, that they may have actually been allowed to.
This is where this gets absolutely horrifying and shocking and will make you furious when you hear what Glenn Beck said on Tucker Carlson's show. We're going to play this for you, then Doc and I will discuss the accusation.
So in the last week, a small number of Americans have headed to Afghanistan and the region to help evacuate people who are trapped there, because the Biden administration just isn't doing that very effectively. Glenn Beck is one of those Americans trying to help. His charity, the Nazarene Fund, has already helped rescue thousands of Afghan Christians from the country. Glenn Beck joins us now from a location in the region. We'll leave it there. Glenn Beck, thanks so much for coming on. So you just headed over there at the drop of a hat. You were texting me on the way. I was kind of amazed. Tell us what you've seen since you've been there. What have you learned? What's it like?
I'm not in Afghanistan. I'm in one of the countries in the region that are actually taking these people as refugees, as a weighing station, just to get them off of the tarmac. They do not want to be identified, because they are concerned about the new coming terror that is going to be happening in the region. I will tell you that we have pulled out 5,100 people, Christians, women, children, and put them on planes. What you're seeing there is one of the last planes that took off before the bombing or bombings today. We had about 500 refugees, women and children mainly, and we had them inside of the airport today. And one military official ordered them to go back on the other side of the gate. I have pictures of them this morning pleading to get back through the gate. And then I have pictures of blood and body parts and nothing but death in that same area. We believe that our State Department is directly responsible for what we believe were some of these people. I don't know how many survived.
Ugh. Have you been able to get a sizable number of Christians out of Afghanistan? It seems like that's a group that would need to leave.
5,100. The country that I'm in right now is at their limit. There are only 3 countries. The State Department has blocked us every step of the way. The State Department and the White House have been the biggest problem. Everyone else has been working together, putting aside differences and trying to get these people to safety. The State Department and the White House have blocked us every single step of the way. In fact, an ambassador was called in Macedonia last night and told not to accept any of these people as we were trying to get them off of the tarmac here to keep the airport flowing and getting these Christians out. We haven't really been able to move anybody for about 12 hours. Our mission is now changing greatly. We have to send people into even greater danger to try to smuggle these Christians out who are marked not just for death, but to be set on fire alive because they're converted Christians. Also, tomorrow, I'm getting back onto another plane, so not funded by the Nazarene Fund. Nothing I am doing here. I'm paying for this here. Copeland Ministries has let me borrow their jet, but we're going someplace else to open up 2 countries, and I don't even want to say who they are because I'm afraid our State Department will call them and threaten them. But we are going to move these people to new homes, and they are going to be a blessing to some country. I don't know why we have open borders. I mean, it's really interesting. We have open borders and closed airports. One group of people are exploited, raped, and killed by drug cartels. And then the other group of people are raped, exploited, and crucified or set on fire by terrorists. There seems to be a pattern with the Biden administration.
Yeah. So Islamic countries, Muslim countries are more eager to accept Christians from Afghanistan than our State Department, which really it tells you a lot.
This country that I'm in, I begged them last night to let me tell the world who they are. They have more compassion for these Christians than our American government, and it is insulting, embarrassing, and wrong.
Yep.
What our government is doing now, I believe, is out and out evil.
Well, I hope at some point you'll tell us what country that is. Glenn Beck, Godspeed. Thank you.
Is that the most shocking thing you've heard in a long time, Doc?
When you shared this with me over the weekend, Rick, I was dumbfounded. I couldn't actually believe it. And obviously it made waves because you really can't find this video out there.
The internet is being scrubbed of this
really
video.
Quick. And so what he's accusing the State Department of is basically putting Afghan Christians in a kill box.
Yes.
In Afghanistan.
Well, they were ordered to move to the zone that blew up. They were Christians ready to be boarded, and they were to be flown out of Kabul. And they were ordered to go stand in the very area that was blown up. Our U.S. State Department put them in a kill zone. What is going on here? The U.S. government is trying to get Afghan Christians killed. It is the most diabolical, antichrist thing that I have seen happen in a long, long time. I will remind you who was in the White House on the day the bomb went off at the Kabul airport, and that was the Prime Minister of Israel. He was in the White House. And you're going to have to just think and put things together. The U.S. government is blocking Christians from escaping Afghanistan.
Right.
We're being told Muslims killed the Christians.
Right.
No, the U.S. State Department killed the Christians.
And Muslim countries are allowing
The Muslim
Christians.
countries are the ones receiving them in. I mean, Glenn Beck choked up when he started talking about the compassion of the Islamic countries towards the Christians.
Right.
At some point here, Muslims and Christians have got to come together and deal with a common enemy that is trying to pit both of us against each other in a world war. And at some point, we're going to have to realize who and what this enemy is.
You know, in that clip that we showed from Tucker Carlson, Rick, Mr. Beck mentioned the ambassador to Macedonia, and he mentioned that he was under some kind of pressure not to allow Christians to even enter their country, Afghan Christians. We have another clip. This is from Mr. Beck's radio show itself, where he explains that a little bit more in detail about the pressure that the State Department was putting on other countries not to receive Afghanistan Christians. Watch this.
When our back is against the wall, we want to make friends with everybody, not enemies. But I have to tell you straight out, the State Department is the biggest obstacle in the Middle East, and it looks like it is being directed by the White House, and we can't figure out why they would make the choices that they're making. They will be responsible for people being taken hostage or dying. We were talking about where can we move some people to get some clog out of countries like this so we can continue to move people in from Kabul. Macedonia was one that had promised us that they would take people, at least temporarily, just to get them off of the airport at Kabul. We were just told that the U.S. State Department called the ambassador in Macedonia and told the ambassador, quote, "Do not take any of our refugees." Why, one would ask?
Yeah, why? Because they're Christians. Who wants Christians dead? Spirit of Antichrist.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Spirit of Antichrist. We're dealing with a very evil, wicked regime. And the U.S. State Department is under the control and domination of Satan. What else can you say? We have people in the State Department who are orchestrating the death of Christians, blocking Christians from escaping, and they're not held accountable for this. There's no news media coverage in the United States about this. Nothing. I would not have known about it had my daughter not told me about it over the weekend.
And when you told me, I was just like dumbfounded and shocked. This is who we are now, where our country, our nation, our president, our White House, our State Department is basically tossing Christians to be killed in what is obviously, and even if they do, even if they somehow survive that, Rick, they're still in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Where most of these are converts from Islam. And in many Muslim countries, not all of them, but in many Muslim countries, some of the more radical ones, Christian converts, that's almost a death sentence for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically we've committed these Afghan Christians to their deaths one way or another.
Doc, I am convinced that, well, I've said it for a long time, I don't believe that there is an ISIS. I believe there's only the Israeli terror state. The Zionists were dressing up as Muslim Arabs in the 1940s, blowing things up.
Yes.
This is not a new trick.
It's self-confessed.
Yes, this is not a new trick. They write, 30, 40 years later, they write books about it and brag about it.
Right.
This is an old trick of the Zionists. And Christians, we need to stop falling for this stuff. We were all shocked last week with the bomb. And it didn't make sense. Why Biden? What is he doing? It looks like gross incompetence. Now we realize it's not incompetence. They're carrying out a plan. And that plan includes the killing of Christians. Who wants to kill Christians?
The Antichrist.
The Antichrist. It's as simple as that. Listen, we're going to take a break here for just a minute, and when we come back, I'm going to share with you a message about the parable of the tares. It's found in the 13th chapter of Matthew. A lot of people know about the parable of the sower. Well, the next one is the parable of the tares, and there are differences between those two parables. And I think you're going to be interested in hearing the truth that's in the parable of the tares. It's about the end of the world. I'll be back in just 1 minute.
If this